Hi guys. So I just finished reading Hemma Haridin's book From Homeless to Healer, and with the book there is there is a mini course that is called Mastering Your Blueprint. And this course is very simple. It basically takes you back to remember your childhood and your qualities and your, what was natural for you as a child. And then it takes you through a clearing process of everything after that, all the conditioning, experiences, traumas, anything that happened after that that basically made you forget how to live your blueprint, and that kind of created blockages so that you aren't able to completely activate that blueprint in your adult life. And she's even saying that, maybe this seems too simple, and many times, we think it's going to be more difficult than just like a clearing a couple of minutes, when it comes to really open up for all the potential that we have. And I think it's both. So I do think that part of the change is always when we go into the emotional body, especially, and are able to feel everything again. Because like we say in the Gene Keys, that the shadow is really the door to something new. But if we distract ourselves, or if we repress the shadows and those feelings and the feelings that made us shut off, and why we don't want to go back again and open up, because it's painful. So that's a requirement to allow that to be felt again, because that's the only way we can come to the other side of it. And maybe where we have got stuck many times in these societies, that we think the shadow work is something that should take ages, and maybe looking at the psychoanalysis and other modalities like that were more maybe trendy 20, 30, 40 years ago. We are conditioned to think that we need a lot of digging in order to dissolve those patterns. However, it's maybe where we are in time today, it's maybe more simple than that, and also faster. We don't really need to dig in a mental sense and tell a therapist about everything that happened in our childhood, and even trying to do past life regressions, and remembering all the things that we might like take personally, when they are just part of the collective memories that we have in our lineage and our imprint. So once we open up for the belief, or once we erase the limited beliefs that it has to take time, we are already a long way to the unlocking. Another thing that I was thinking is that the questions that are asked before the activation and in the book are very much the same questions that I ask people before working with them. Because it's true that with the hologenetic profile and the human design profile or chart, I can see a lot of the imprinting, and I can see the blueprint, and I can tell, without being a psychic, I can tell the activations, I can tell what kind of person many times, and what the possible downfalls and challenges are, and also where the soul is going. Since we are all growing up in different environments with different experiences, for me it's very important to ask every person about the childhood, about the qualities, about the struggles, and to see how that soul or that personality lived out that blueprint. So what I feel is that it's really good to remember in our childhood what was natural for us, and it can be easier than we think to dissolve all the limiting beliefs and all the emotional blockages that makes us hesitate to step into our full potential. I feel like it's also true that as children we're all still children, so we can't really see how that blueprint is playing out in an adult life, because we need to continue to activate the DNA, because we're all the time we're evolving. So we need to we need to have that. It's like an ongoing process, an ongoing evolution, and that is where I see that human design and the gene keys come in, because it's not only about remembering, which can be hard when we are, when we have shut up for many years, to really remember what was the things in our childhood that we were really good at. Many of us have repressed a lot of the childhood we don't even remember, and asking somebody else is still not going to be our soul speaking. So the fact that we have human design and the gene keys and can see, what is the genius of the blueprint, where is it, where are the areas that I naturally thrive in. And I've never met anybody so far that has felt limited by the profile, because that is the nature, especially when we look at the gene keys, because they are so expansive. So they're not saying that the shadow is wrong, kind of like sometimes what I can feel in human design, that we're saying that not self is where we don't want to be. Somehow it's more better explained, I would say, in the gene keys, that the shadow is really the door. We need to feel whatever hurts before we can surpass it, basically. And then as it's laid out as a journey, so we can always walk that journey, and it's a spiral journey, so it never ever stops. It just goes in spirals, and every time the spiral comes up and it's more expansive, there's more that we can include. So for me to know that it doesn't have to be a long process for us to tap into and activate our potential that is inherent in our DNA. And at the same time, knowing that there are systems and guides where we can see where the genius lies. And then instead of taking that as a rule, we take our profile and we start to experiment with it. That's why Ra used to say it's a 7-year, the conditioning process, where we experiment with the strategy and the authority, where we know our design, and then we go out and we learn to live our design. And that's not something that happens from one day to another. That actually the time that it takes for the cells to renew is 7 years. That's why it's a 7-year deconditioning process. And knowing that the densest is the physical body, and that is what's going to take that much time, because we are not only looking at change, like at opening up the way we think or opening up the way we feel. We're also speaking about the very physical, the very densest layers that also can open up and start to function and work and renew, optimally. So it's a process that is in a way instantaneous and permanent when we start to unlock, and it's also an evolution that is ongoing, where we're never done. We can always open up more, and there is always more alignment that is possible. And for me, I feel like both the personality and the soul grows, and in every lifetime. So once the soul has aligned, or the personality has aligned with the soul, there is the next tier, and the next tier, and the next tier. That's why there aren't any limits. And then more and more, speaking about how the alignment happens when we unify our chakras and all that, and what we're doing in the star pearl when we are starting to look at the inner feminine and masculine, and the triangle of involution evolution, we're creating kind of a light Merkaba that is a vehicle to also to experience higher realms of existence, embodied in ourself and in our light body. So there are those beautiful like ways of helping ourselves to have like it's going into our blueprint, and then using the blueprint as a vehicle to understand more and to go further, instead of being limited by the blueprint and think this is only what I am, and I'm 26 numbers. No. So that's why I love to use human design and the gene keys with other systems. So reading this book that I really recommend is something that opens up for me too, because sometimes we are conditioned to think that, I have to read all the gene keys and learn them and all the lines and then human design and what about the I Ching. That's where it all kind of came from. So that's something I need to learn. So it's refreshing to read a book that says it doesn't have to take that long. If you're ready, we can do it right now, and we can let go of everything that is limiting. So yeah, this is worth thinking about and letting sink in, and see what is your way of remembering your blueprint. What is it in you that you resonate with? When do you feel like you get energy? What system, method, person, practice makes you feel like you become more in alignment, and use that, because we can all need a little bit of inspiration and help on the way. So thank you so much.